All right. Let me give you one more second. Okay, let's do it. Let's go ahead and get started as the sun is hitting me right in the face. I had to do a little bit of this two-face with the sun with you all, but good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us and tuning in. Looking forward to today's discussion. Have some really good updates and things for us to discuss in regards to the Bicycle Climate Action Team and bicycle and pedestrian efforts in Flagstaff. And really looking forward to the discussion. Thank you all for being here. We have a lot to discuss, but before we jump in, let's go around really quick. And if you're here in person, we'll have you unmute yourself and say your name. One thing about Earth Day that you're hoping to, like, as a goal for this year's Earth Day celebration, if you have any personal goals, and one thing about biking in, wherever you are, but if you're here in Flagstaff, one thing about biking, if there's anything you'd like to share in regards to the conditions or how you felt on the roads, or that you have maybe an intention to bike more, or if you're not biking at all, that's fine as well. But if there's anything you'd like to share, please do. Richard, would you like to go first?
Well, okay. I'm just Stefan convinced me to join this group, didn't you, Stefan? Right?
We're very happy to have you in the group.
Yes.
I just came back from Lake Mary, Lower Lake Mary. Upper, lower part. A nice 4-hour ride from my place here in the airport area. And I did Oak Creek Canyon not too long ago, too. So I like biking very much. And I have about maybe 7,000 or more miles about. Mostly, I like the fact that I want to do something proactive with bicycling with a group. I'm usually a solo bike rider. So do you ever arrange something like that, by the way?
Like group rides?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I will host community group rides from time to time, but they're pretty minimal.
Okay.
There are groups that meet weekly and do like larger rides, but I feel like I don't know too much about them. I know they ride on Saturday, but I think they're like a pretty serious group that ride out to like Lake Mary, do a lot of road riding.
Yeah.
Not too sure if that's what you're looking for, though.
Maybe. I'm going on 80, so I might as well keep doing it, right? Better to wear out than rust out, correct?
Absolutely. And then do you have any climate goals you'd like to share?
I've got a whole lot, so I'm not going to mention them tonight because I'm new to the group, but I'm going to talk about those Thursday. I work with 11 different corporations, nonprofits rather, for this stuff. So there's a lot of stuff I like to see done. But right now I'm a neophyte here in the group, so I'm going to kind of be quiet.
Oh, you're fine. Well, thank you for being here, Richard, and it's good to have you. And thank you for choosing to be part of this group.
I like bikes so much.
Yeah. I'm just going to go across my screen the way I see it. So, Stefan, you want to go next? Your name, you can talk about your affiliation, and then any bicycling experience that you'd like to share, and any climate goals.
Thank you, Adam. I'm Stefan Sommer. I'm recently retired professor from NAU, taught ecology and evolutionary biology, and got into climate change because climate change is hammering every ecological system on Earth now. And so I got involved with NASCA because I was making public presentations about climate change. And NASCA has really grown rapidly with all these many different ways that we're approaching our carbon footprint. And this bike cat is a really key part of it because here's my Earth Day wish, that all combustion vehicles would combust and disappear. And we could shift our entire culture to biking and walking and other human, biologically powered transportation.
And that no humans are hurt in the combustion process, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Better yet, if they just vaporized.
Oh my gosh, that's great. No, thank you, Stefan, and thank you for all that you do, and thanks for joining us today. It's great to have you. Lauren, are you with us? Can you unmute and introduce yourself and share one climate goal you have and anything bicycling related if you have any updates on cycling?
She's looking.
I know
No.
Lauren's kind of struggling to
Okay, yeah, I see.
connect. Maybe we'll jump ahead. Is it Moon?
Yep.
Hi, Moon. Welcome.
Hello.
You want to introduce yourself and share one climate goal and one cycling update if you have any?
Sure. So my name is Moon Strange Weather. I'm very new to this group. It's my very first meeting, just kind of learning about this particular group and goals and whatnot. Let's see. I am starting gardening, so I do composting as well, vermicomposting.
Nice.
I guess it's like my little ways of trying to be more eco-friendly and stuff like that in my home, and trying to also plant either flowers native to the area or flowers that bees really like. So trying to do that as well. And a biking update, I have an electric bike. I'm an
Ooh.
electric bike person. So I would like to ride more on my electric bike too, especially things that are a bit closer to me. And I really dislike the cinder that's on the streets. I really don't like it.
Amen.
It's so sketchy, huh?
Yeah, it just makes me nervous. I'm very cautious about getting hurt, and all I can see myself is just tumbling. So,
Right.
I just tripped, by the way. I had a nice accident today on that.
Oh no.
I'm
Sounds
okay.
right.
You're right. Absolutely, it comes out of nowhere.
Right. I was just
And-
talking to someone who's on council today about that and how cinders are like, doesn't matter how thick your tire is, you're gonna slide out if you try to stop too quick, you know, or if you hit the wrong angle.
I did that.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm okay though.
Well,
Bike's
Moon,
good
thank
too.
you for joining us and thanks for sharing your introduction. I see Zaid is with us and says, good morning. Nice topic and nice discussion. Guessing Zaid isn't in Flagstaff, but welcome, Zaid. And those who are tuning in, please do feel free to share a short introduction, any climate goals that you have, and any updates you have about cycling in whatever community you're tuning in from. But Kathy, you want to go next?
Yeah. Kathy Armstrong, I just retired from the city. We're working at the library, and I haven't had a car in about 20 years.
Wow.
So I'm used to biking and busing, and mainly I just take the Route 66 bike thing. But I wish council and everyone could see that film that you showed the other day, Adam, about Ottawa, what they're doing with their bike infrastructure.
With the protected intersections?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I think every city could use their example.
Right. And it seems like Ottawa is really embracing it and running with it. I think they have, like 22 in the pipeline intersections to be redesigned as protected intersections, which is just amazing. So we'll circle back to that in a minute here, because that's definitely on the list of things to talk about. But welcome, Kathy, and thank you for sharing and being with us and your service to our libraries and our community. It's great to hear that. And welcome, congratulations on retirement. I see Lauren is still trying to get in, but she's struggling to connect. So I'll wrap us up. My name is Adam Shimoni. My climate goal is to, I guess, just continue to eat locally and ride my bike as much as I can. I've recently been putting on a trailer in the back of my bike and hauling my groceries, hauling my water, hauling my gear, hauling my tools, really trying to use it almost like a vehicle in the sense of when you need to haul more things. And so that's been a lot of fun. I actually really enjoy that. And I really like the feeling of a weighted down bicycle. It's a lot of fun, and it feels really good to be able to like use your own leg power to do some of these larger tasks and not have to rely on a vehicle, right? Mm-hmm. So that's my climate goal. And cycling's been good. And you know, I've hosted a couple rides recently that Rich, you're probably thinking of too. And one of the rides, we went from NAU to Heritage Square all the way over to Bushmaster Park for Earth Day. and I know some of you were planning on joining us, but we had a great turnout, a lot of fun. But I'll tell you, we went up 4th Street, and at first we thought we were going to take the lane because we're allowed to, and we have a lot of people. But those cars were moving way too fast, and it's 5 lanes of traffic, and of which we could totally take one of those lanes. But the cars, it was so sketchy, and it was so dangerous. I felt so uncomfortable. I'm sure the group did too. And we had kids with us. I mean, it was so sketch. And like the parents that had kids ended up getting off the main street and taking some back routes to the park, which I totally support them doing. But that's a big issue. The fact that 4th Street isn't accessible and isn't rideable. There's not even a sidewalk on the east side of the street. I mean, it is problematic unless you're in a car. And then you have 5 lanes, comfortable widths, high speeds. I mean, and then you have people trying to cross every couple blocks playing Frogger, right, with their lives to cross the street. And it's a problem. I know that there's a lot of history at the city on 4th Street and the sizing of 4th, whether it should be 3 lanes or 5 lanes, and whether or not they should go back from 5 lanes to 3 lanes. But I don't know if there's political will or leadership at the city currently to actually see through such plans. But we can circle back to that as community members and as this group and see if we can push the city to move towards that. But I got a real firsthand experience with our group on Saturday, the sketchiness of riding along 4th Street. So that's what I would share with the group. But again, welcome you everyone for tuning in. If you're tuning in virtually, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and share a climate goal and any cycling experiences that you would like to share with the group. But I'm just going to jump in. I have a couple quick updates and a couple things to talk about, and then a couple discussion items for this group. And we very likely might end early today, so we will see. But as I mentioned, I helped to facilitate a couple group rides recently, and they've been a lot of fun. I don't have any more of those scheduled yet, but as soon as I do, I will let this group and others know. So Richard, I will definitely keep you in the know if and when they do occur. I can tell you though that Bike Month is coming up in May, and there is a lot of events happening, including rides. So let me show you some of these things I'm talking about with Bike Month. Let me do a quick screen share here. Okay, so tell me if you can see this.
It's coming.
Can everyone see it?
Yeah, there it is.
Great. So this is the Flagstaff Biking Organization's homepage on their website. And FBO, Flagstaff Biking Organization, is a local nonprofit. Full disclosure, I do serve as a board member on their nonprofit board, but they're the ones that host Bike Month every year. And it's coming up May 1st for the entire month. So I just want to show you some of the things happening this Bike Month for you to potentially be involved with and to help spread the word about. So all month long, May 1st through the 31st, we have a biking challenge. And it's a free way to track your rides and also receive raffle prizes and enter in a raffle for many different prizes that will be given out, I believe, throughout the month. So we are challenging, or FBO is challenging the entire community to track their rides and help encourage others to do the same, while also signing up to receive wonderful raffle prizes from local businesses all month long. And so please check that out. And I'll put this link to this website in the chat to this video, along with in the description of this video after the video's live. I could do that a little bit later. But that's the first thing I want to highlight here is the biking challenge. Secondly, there's also bike bingo happening all month long. And you can learn more about this on the website. I'm not going to go into much details here, but another fun way to be involved. Tuesdays in May, bike to dine out on Tuesdays. Local restaurants are offering special deals for folks who ride to dine in or pick up takeout food on Tuesdays during Flagstaff Biking Month. So that's pretty exciting. And then May 1st is the official first kickoff event where we have a kickoff ride and It's at City Hall, outside of Flagstaff City Hall, starting at 7 a.m. And we're going to have local elected leaders and officials and individuals there to read a proclamation, share a few words, and then we're also going to honor Cosmic Ray with a brick of recognition that goes into Heritage Square. Every year, FBO honors someone or an organization with a brick that is put into Heritage Square. So this year, we FBO is honoring Cosmic Ray, and we will be FBO will be speaking about Cosmic Ray and that recognition at this kickoff ride. So that's gonna be a lot of fun, and then we're gonna do a little ride around downtown and maybe some of the surrounding neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
May 9th is the Lowell Observatory Mars Hill Challenge Ride. And so anyone who's feeling up to a real challenge that either knows that hill or not is invited to ride anytime between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. on May 9th. And basically, if you get to the top, you'll receive 2-for-1 on guest passes to the Lowell Observatory and a refreshing bottle of water. And so, going to be a really great challenge. It's a difficult ride if you haven't done it. And it's definitely rewarding once you reach the top. The views and then the 2-for-1 deal is wonderful. So shout out to Lowell and definitely check that out. May 10th, Savvy Cyclist Bike Safety Class is taking place at City Hall from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Martin Ince, along with Kim Austin, will be presenting and doing a educational class on bicycle safety. So check that out. I believe we're going to live stream it through FBO's Facebook page, and that should be a great event. And again, all these things are free, by the way, so there's no cost to, I believe, any of this. May 16th is Bike to School Day, and we're encouraging kids all across Flagstaff and really across, I guess, the globe, if you're tuning in elsewhere, to bike to school on May 16th, teachers included and faculty, of course. And then on that same day, there is a Kiddical Mass Ride and Ice Cream Social taking place at Secret School. So we're meeting at Secret School, arrive at 4 p.m., ride leaves at 4:15, and then we're going to be escorted by the Flagstaff Police Department for a 3.5-mile ride on the foot, followed by ice cream treats that will be served at, I believe, at Sechrist. So very fun. If you haven't done it, it's a great time. Lots of kids. Bring your kids, and that'll be a great time. May 17th is a Bike to Breakfast Day, and it was gone for a couple years, but we're glad FBO is excited to bring it back. 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Breakfast location map coming soon. But basically, bike-friendly businesses around Flagstaff are once again sponsoring bicycle breakfast stops this year. And I believe you'll just be able to go to these locations, and there's free food and beverages, and it's a lot of fun. Other cyclists. It's a good time. And then May 21st, almost at the end here, we have a bike bazaar, bike and gear swap, and bike parade at Heritage Square. This is always a big event, a lot of fun, great place to find a bike, sell a bike, grab some parts, whatever it is. A lot of fun at Heritage Square, 9 a.m. to noon. And the bike ride is I believe at 11 or so. But I think it's right here, 11 a.m. And it's a lot of fun. And then last but not least, June 1st, making a bikeable and walkable Flagstaff for all with your very own, myself. I'm doing a discussion at the Klein Library, the downtown City Library community room. And we're going to be also hosting this virtually for those that want to tune in virtually, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I'll be discussing all sorts of things about biking and the past, present, and future. A lot of good stuff going to be shared. Definitely join us for that. And that is Bike Month in a nutshell. A lot going on. What questions do people have? What comments do you have? What are your thoughts? And let me know what you think. And let's see. Terry is tuning in, and Terry writes, important discussion. Thank you. Anytime for a secure bike lane on Milton. Oh my gosh, Terry, great question. You know, ADOT recently restriped Milton, and in that restriping effort, before I was off of council, while still on council, I advocated that they make the lanes narrower because they were very wide lanes for vehicles, and that they take that additional space and put it towards the biking margins. They're not officially bike lanes because they're still too thin, but they call them, I believe, just margin areas, and people bike on those margins, right? So yeah, I love to see secure bike lanes along Milton, but honestly, fairly unlikely anytime soon. I will tell you that we as a city are talking about, or the city is talking about, building a Riordan Street corridor that goes from City Hall, basically downtown area, all the way out to Fort Hill. Basically, that's going to be a separated, to the best of the city's ability, network and bikeway that connects north and south and basically parallels Milton. So that is hopefully something that's going to be coming in the years to come. Maybe next 2 to 4 years would be my guess. But there's talking of designing it currently. There's funding for design work. And there's also talk of a possible grant opportunity to pay for it, which it might be in the $6 to $10 million range, but totally worth it. Yeah, Stefan.
Well, this might be a good moment to mention the recent victory that the bike cat
Oh my
had
gosh.
with the city council.
Gosh,
Yes. Yes.
I love that, and let's circle back to that because that's, I think, next on the agenda, and we're right there. But thank you for that tee up, Stefan. And then Christopher writes, when can we expect a restriping of crosswalks and bike lanes elsewhere around town? Great question. I have the same question. I don't have an answer, but I know that often in spring is when they do all these different improvements. And it seems like every year we the public, need to nudge the city staff and leadership to make sure to prioritize the Shero markings and the bike lane markings and whatnot. But I will say that within 419 funds, Martin and the transportation departments, and specifically the bike ped department, have funds and have plans to do a lot more significant markings, crossings, signage, et cetera, but I don't know the timeline of that. And Chris follows up by saying, and when can we expect the bike lanes on Butler to be cleared of cinders? I thought they were cleared. Are they not?
No, they're back.
Really?
The truck is coming back, and he's got the airport area ruined. I mean, they cleaned them. Now they're back to cinders again.
I know that they did a pass of the cinders like a few weeks ago on the different bike lanes, and that was great. I'm so glad to see that. But if it's bad again, the best thing that I could recommend for folks who are tuning in is take a photo of what you're seeing and experiencing with your phone, and just send a quick email off to the city council, which reaches staff and leadership, and just say, hey, I'm riding on Butler. These are the cinders. It's brutal. It's dangerous. Whatever it is you want to say, email that to the city council and have an ongoing relationship with that city council through emails. And I'm putting the email address in the chat box right now for folks. That email address, council. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That is not accurate. I'm going to delete that and repost that. It's council@flagstaffaz.gov. And I'm going to put that in the chat momentarily here. But that's unfortunate to hear. And then Chris, I think, follows up. Can you please provide us with that link to that info? Yes. And I'm guessing, Chris, you're talking about the email address. I'm going to try this again. flagstaffaz.gov is the email address that reaches everybody. And I highly recommend everyone make a note of that email address and use it frequently. They need to hear from us, and they're not out there on the roads riding every day. We are. And so they need to know what we're experiencing. Stefan.
I'm less familiar with StreamYard, and I'm not sure how to pull up the chat.
Oh, on the right side of your screen, you might see comments. And
they pop up, but they don't stay, and I can't.
You might have to scroll, perhaps. Like it's a scroll bar on from my perspective, and I can see the comments coming through.
I'm not seeing this. No. Sorry.
And you might need to, I'm not too sure. Check out on the right side. There should be like a comments. So you do see comments?
I see right now. I see one that says is from Christopher Peckham. Yes, perfect. Thank you. And I see them flash through like that, but then as soon as another comment comes, the previous one disappears and I
Oh,
can't see
interesting.
the stream of comments.
Okay. It definitely shows on my end, but I know I'm like the one hosting this. So I'm not too sure what it is that if anyone else who's tuning in, who's on the
Oh,
StreamYard.
that's what it is. So I just got out of full screen.
Okay.
And when I'm out of full screen, I do see
Yep.
it on the right side. Got it.
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Very good. Very good. Did anyone else have questions? And Chris, I hope I answered most of your questions. See, I think Zaid said most important thing is safety. Those who will be involved in ride bikers will have to ride safely. Wonderful initiative, Shimoni. Thank you, Zaid. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. And I agree, safety is critical. And the interesting thing about safety is it's both infrastructure design of a city government and the city planners, and then also the individual riding. And so we find that crashes occur almost equally between drivers being at fault and cyclists or pedestrian being at fault. And I think, the conclusion I've drawn with some friends is that people are dumb and do stupid things, regardless of what mode of travel you're taking. You're going to have people who are making bad decisions out there, whether it's being distracted, drinking and, under the influence, whatever it is, not checking all directions. But the thing is, as Stefan speaks to often, the impact to pedestrians and cyclists is tremendous and extremely negative, right? If you get hit by a car as a biker or a walker, your life might be on the line, versus if a car hits a biker, your fender might need to be repaired. I remember someone, I forget who it was that said this, but they said, what was it? Like vehicle insurance versus health insurance. One is like your belongings insurance, and the other one is your life insurance. That's basically on the line. But anyways, thank you for that. Any other comments about Bike Month and all those good events? Yeah, Rich.
I sent you a whole bunch of stuff. You gave me exactly what I was looking for.
Exactly. Check out that website. I think you'll be happy about that.
Could you send it to me by email?
I will.
I don't have it on here. And the bumps on the bike trails with the tar, with them not patching things up. How can we get somebody to fix those things, because they're ruining my bike?
The bumps where?
The across the bike trail where they cracked, and then they patched them in there. Many over here in the west part of town are not filled in.
I'd say it's a matter of being that squeaky wheel to the city. Okay. And so taking photos and saying, hey, I ride every day. I'm reducing emissions in the city. My car doesn't have an impact on the road because I'm on my bike, but my bike is getting beaten up by these lack of maintenance and lack of infrastructure basics, right?
Okay.
I think that's the best thing you can do.
That's good. Thank you. That's good.
Moon, jump in.
Yes, I just wanted to ask if there's any plans right now that these events will be added to existing newsletters or Flagstaff newsletters. I think it would encourage more people to participate.
Do you have any newsletters in mind particularly?
There's Flagstaff 365 and then Discover Flagstaff are the two that I am thinking of.
Okay. Yeah, I will chat with the team and pass that message along. I have a feeling that they're on that, or they're considering that, but maybe they haven't done it yet. But we should soon. I agree with you. Thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, another potential one would be the NASCA newsletter. So we should get all those events on the NASCA calendar in any case, and then bug Daniel to keep them in the NASCA newsletter as well.
Maybe, Stefan, what I'll do is kind of make it a bullet point list with the dates and the different key information, and then email it to Daniel. Does that sound like the right approach?
It does. I can send you the link. He's got a little form for getting things on the calendar, and I'll send you the link to that.
Perfect. And then Chris writes, bagels or donuts. Why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't it be both? And hopefully it will be both is my goal in saying that. So hopefully we will have both this year, but we will find out. And then Tyler, who's tuning in, writes, and welcome, Tyler. Thanks for joining us. That's true, but worth noticing that a cyclist making dumb decisions is only a danger to themselves, while a driver making dumb decisions is dangerous to themselves and others. There's a symmetry between the two. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fully agree. Although I do still think that a cyclist could do danger to others, swerving out in front of the car and potentially having the car then swerve out and hit someone else. But thank you for sharing, Tyler. And definitely looking forward to seeing you at the different bike month events, which I'm sure you'll be at some of those. Just planting a seed here with this group, I'd like for us at some point to pick up the idea of these bike to school programs and really kind of create a packet of information that we can, hopefully a short packet, go to schools and share this with them and see if we can establish bike to school programs at the different schools. But we will circle back to that because that's a big topic and not one that I'm hoping we dive into. Kathy, any thoughts from you about Bike Month or anything you'd like to share?
No, but I agree with Rich about especially the route that follows Route 66. There's a patch that comes around the corner and people try to swerve and it's kind of dangerous. It's kind of the tar thing but taking a picture and sending them to council, I think I'll do that.
Yes, definitely.
Yep, I'll do that starting tomorrow.
Love it. Appreciate it. Okay, now moving on to the next agenda item for us. And it's just another quick update from myself. And obviously questions and comments are welcome. And to Stefan's point, the capital budget retreat that occurred a couple of weeks ago was a tremendous success. And really cheers to all of us and all of you who were part of that, because no one of us or even a small group of us could have done what we did. The council heard from us. The city leadership heard from us. They knew that we wanted to see action, and they took our comments seriously. And very proud to say that the council gave clear direction to leadership at the city, both staff and our city manager, that they want to see the bicycle pilot on Butler elevated and funded ASAP. That's huge because staff is currently talking about removing those bike pilot lanes, which is like, I get it. They're problematic. They were a learning experience and we learned from them. But I've been saying rather than moving backwards, let's move forwards. And removing the pilot is not moving forward and taking away that separation. And so it looks like the elevation of those lanes might be about $4 to $5 million are the estimates that I'm hearing. And not sure where exactly the funding is coming from, but I keep pointing at the 419 transportation tax funding pot, of which it's every other single vehicle project seems to be tapping into that funding pool. No problem. Whether it's 13 million or 17 million for different projects, it seems like every project is tapping into 419 funding for additional funds when needed. And so 5 million, 4 million for this, I think is totally reasonable. It's a matter of whether or not it's prioritized and valued by the council and the leadership team. And so that was one piece of the victory at the budget retreat. The other piece were the direction from council to also find funding for the protected intersections that Kathy was mentioning at Beaver and Butler and San Fran and Butler, two of the more dangerous intersections in our town, according to our crash data. And that's tremendous. Each of those intersections is about $1 million, just under $1 million, and will tremendously change the way people, pedestrians, and cars move at those junctions in a very safety-oriented way that really puts pedestrians and cyclists first. Those little green lights for those bikes that you'll see in other towns that are like the green, the yellow, and the red with the bike symbol, we will have those at these intersections, and that is, I don't know, really exciting to me. Anthony, welcome. And thank you, Anthony, for joining our ride on Saturday. Glad you were able to be there with us. I'm willing to help distribute packets to schools. I'm currently building relationships with Sunnyside schools and beyond. Hit me up. Amazing. We will definitely circle back with you, and please continue to join these meetings And be sure to sign up for the Bike Cat group on the NASCO website so that we can have your email on file, so I can be sure to keep you up to date of our meetings. Thank you, Anthony. That's great. Looking forward to working with you on that. Chris writes, elevate bike lanes. Can you please briefly explain what this means? Yes. So the bike lanes on Butler currently are off on the street, right? But they're at the street level, not the sidewalk level. So basically you take the bike lane and you elevate it to the sidewalk level, and then you build a 10-foot wide sidewalk, just like the Foots Trail on 66. And we'll have that on both sides of Butler. And so taking the bike lane off the street, elevating it up to the height of the sidewalk, and then having two 10-foot corridors on both sides of Butler is not only safer for cyclists because it's pulling us away from the cars, it removes those little flaps and all those barriers and all the issues with those barriers. It makes maintenance way easier for our streets department. And it also, what's the last thing I'm looking for? It's just a win-win across the board. So that's what I mean by elevate. Yeah, Richard.
Lake Mary Road's got nice wide bike trails, so very safe to ride down to the basins from there, and no problems with the traffic, none at all. So I wish we could have more of those in the city.
Yep. So, I mean, a 10-foot wide multi-use path, I think is what they're calling it, is kind of like that Lake Mary Road feeling, because it gives you that. But it also has a separation, an elevated separation between cars traveling and pedestrians and cyclists traveling.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. And Chris follows up with, can that produce any unwanted side effects for pedestrian traffic? There is going to need to be good signage and striping for bikes and where pedestrians go, so that there is that separation between those two modes. In an ideal world, the best communities out there are actually putting a separation area between the bike lane and the pedestrian lanes, but we're just not there yet. So we're just going to have to make do with a multi-use path that it has like certain striping and marking for pedestrian and certain striping and marking for bicyclists, and hope that people can learn to follow those rules and those.
Same way with NAU,
Right.
Yeah, same thing.
Stefan.
Well, just real quick, whatever kind of interactions you can get between bikes and pedestrians, they can be bad, I suppose, but they're never going to be as bad as between bikes and combustion vehicles.
Yep.
I love that point, and I say, share that from the mountaintops. I think that's such a good message to share. I agree with you, and there's going to be conflicts, but we need to just address them and work through them. But like you say, Stefan, lives will not be lost. There might be some issues or small injuries at times, but lives will not be lost. Anthony chimes in and says, make the Bike Safety Streets program more robust, I think. I don't know much about that program. Is that through the city? And let us know. That's really interesting. Okay. And then the other part about the update I have to share with you all is that they're also funding additional positions to work with Martin and the staff team. And Martin, if you don't know, is our city multimodal planner. And so he does all things bike and ped for the city and has been for, I think, 18 years as a team of one. And so, we joke and say we need more Martins, but I think more Martins are coming, and it's very exciting. So that's great news. So all this to say that we're in a great position to now fight the next battle. And I hate using the word fight, but it's kind of like an ongoing wrestling, situation where you're constantly working and it's never really done until it's done. And so the next budget retreat is April 26th and 27th. That's a Thursday and Friday at the end of this month. Gosh, that's actually in a couple days. I didn't even realize that. That's hilarious. It's this Thursday and Friday. Look at that. So we have another call to action. I don't know what's going to be presented in this Butler corridor slide on Thursday or Friday, or which day it's even going to be on. I will update you all as soon as I do on social media with the agendas. But, the call to action remains the same. Email council, share that you're grateful that direction was given, but now it's time to see that direction followed through on and support the council. I will say I feel really good about things going into this discussion, and I know that the council heard loud and clear from us, so I don't think we need to really put so much effort into this, but it's never done until it's done. And I've totally seen councils throughout the years, not picking on this one, talking about past councils primarily here, that they'll go back on things. They'll listen the first time, but then if you don't show up the second time, they kind of default back to some level of status quo or whatever it is, and they don't want to overcome something or really apply political pressure. I will be there in person at these retreats. I believe they're at the Aquaplex, but we need to find out for certain. And you can tune in online or in person. And lunch is provided, and it's usually a pretty good lunch.
For vegans?
But I think so, yes. So that's coming up this week, and that's probably the biggest call to action to see this through. But I think we're in a really good place. And, whether we go for grant funding or we find internal funding, as long as funding is found, hopefully sooner than later, I feel really good about the direction we're heading in. Any comments or questions about any of that? I know I just spoke for a long time.
I'm still not concerned, but the elevated bike trail, how high would that be?
6 inches.
Okay.
It's the same height of the sidewalk.
Same sign. Okay, good. Thank you.
Think about the sidewalk expanding into the car, like into the roadway more so.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Totally. And that's the win. And the nice thing is, with the Lone Tree Overpass project, of which has 3 protected intersections in the designs. Bravo, City of Flagstaff. So proud of that and so excited for that. That Lone Tree Overpass project is going to build separated bike lanes, just like what we're talking about, along Butler and Lone Tree. Mm-hmm. And so this will connect nicely into that. And then the East Butler expansion project happening a little bit like in a year from now, that's also going to have separated bicycle infrastructure that's the same as what we're talking about. And so this is exciting stuff. Chris, you're too nice. Get out of here. Says you all are superstars, and really it's a team effort. And yeah, I think this community is ready for change. I joke with certain staff members at the city, we don't need any more surveys, we don't need any more outreach, we need action, and we need to put money where our mouth's at and get going. The community is wanting change and has been advocating for 40 plus years. Anyways, any other thoughts or questions about this upcoming week and the capital projects retreat update?
What would you like to see happen from us?
I'd say the call to action is that we need to email council and possibly even give public comment tomorrow if you feel inclined to. I will be most likely. And just saying, hey, council, really happy to hear that there was direction given unanimously. That's a big point to make. Everyone on council saw value in this and the prioritization of this to find funding and have the capital team with the budget team sit down and look for funding to see these 3 projects through. Again, those 2 protected intersections and the elevation of the Butler bike lanes. And so we just want to, continue to support council looking for that funding internally along with externally. Sure, if we want to look for grants, that's fine, but really we want the council to find the funds. I think within 419 funding is where they're going to have their opportunity to look for those funds. Anthony writes, when will the agenda be out for the budget retreat? It's usually the day before, because they have to do it within no sooner than they can't do it less than 24 hours out. So they had to put the budget retreat out. I think it'll be at the latest, and it usually kind of comes up to the last minute, 24 hours from the start time. So that'll be like 8 a.m. or so on Wednesday. It'll be live. So Wednesday, we should expect to be able to find it on the city website. Anthony, maybe check the city website really quick and just see if you can find it. It might be up now. I didn't even realize it was so soon. But maybe, Anthony, if you don't mind, do that for us and let us know if you find it. But Wednesday at the latest is when we'll see that budget retreat agenda. But any questions about the call to action and what we're asking people to do for these next steps?
And that's the key word, call to action, right?
Yeah. Moon or Kathy, do you have any thoughts about what we're working on?
This is just really new to me, so I don't really know how to be prepared for a budget retreat or truthfully what that is. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if there's some sort of thing I can read to catch myself up with, like what kinds of conversations are happening there, how this particular group relates to those certain conversations that are happening, or if, is there like an email that gets sent out to prepare us with whatever talking points we want to bring
Mm.
up, something like that.
So yes, talking points will go out in an email, I think probably tomorrow, and that's just on me to do. And again, not realizing it was so soon that that's on me, and I apologize. But I will send out talking points to our group. Moon, make sure you're maybe send me an email or private message me your email address to make sure that we have it on file. Maybe Stefan, if you don't mind, check and see if Moon's in our group. I'm not sure if they are, but basically, budget retreats, very brief synopsis, occur every year, and the city council adopts a new budget with the support of staff and leadership every year for the following year. And that budget retreat is critical, or those budget setting meetings are critical for how hundreds of millions of dollars are spent every year, typically about 500 million. And so the city does that, and that's all locally. And so yeah, this is part of a series of budget retreats that the city council does with city staff, of course, open to the public. And the budget is usually adopted at the end of June. But the last meetings are kind of like, this is it. Soon we'll have like the city manager's recommended budget. It might be this meeting. And then council has like one more budget retreat where they basically dive into all the different sections of the city's inner workings in different departments and talk about the budget. What are the asks? What are the struggles? Are we in a recession? How do we plan for things? And then what are we going to do with the funding moving forward? And what are we going to build upon, right? Kathy, let me know if I missed anything. I know you have some good perspective on all this, but every section has requests and they bring it forward, and the budget team has to wrestle and figure out what to do with all these requests while looking at the money that they have. But us, the public, have the opportunity with the council support to put pressure to see certain things through, right? And so what this group has been doing is putting pressure, and I don't even know if I want to use the word pressure, but really advocating and supporting that funding is used to go towards these things that we want to see developed.
Encouragement.
Yeah.
Moon, does that help paint a better picture?
Yes, for me it did. Yeah.
Yes, especially knowing that talking points are sent out, so it gives me a better idea of what we're advocating for, and if I have an option or an opportunity to show up, what that advocating looks like or how I could participate.
Great. Yeah. And yeah, we should, as best as we can, show up tomorrow at the council meeting at 3 p.m. Public comments right at the beginning, and you have 3 minutes to share really anything you'd like to share that's not on the agenda that night. And so tomorrow, this topic is on the agenda, so we'll be able to speak right at 3 p.m. for 3 minutes each. And that goes a long way if anyone's able to come join me tomorrow in person or virtually. But that public comment's good. And Moon, if you wanted to, you can go back and you can watch any of the budget retreats that the city's ever done. It's on the city's website, and I can help you find that. But it's 8 hours long, 6 hours long. I don't know if you'll necessarily enjoy it, but yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of information out there, but it's sometimes overwhelming, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on this topic? And folks who are tuning in, thank you for joining us. Appreciate your taking the time to listen to this conversation. Let us know if you have any comments or questions about any of this that we're talking about. Love for your help in this upcoming week's events. Anthony says, it's so fun. I love them. I do too. I genuinely do too. And it's just amazing because it's all about the money at the end of the day. And those budget retreats are all about the money. And you get to see how the city is making decisions with our taxpayer money and millions upon millions of it, right? $500 million. and the city's doing a lot of great stuff. You know, I really am proud of what the city of Flagstaff does with the funding that they have, but there's always improvements to make, right? From my perspective. And so, yeah, they are a lot of fun, and Anthony and I definitely have attended our fair share of them. Okay, so moving right along, the next update I wanted to share with the group is the Butler corridor, those bike lanes that Chris and all of us have been talking about so much, these pilots. There's an update coming before council on May 30th. So a little bit out, about a month out, but on May 30th, there's going to be a council update on those bike pilot lanes. And I believe maintenance is going to be part of that conversation as well. And so that's going to be a meeting that we're going to be rallying. We're going to be organizing. We're going to be planning. Maybe we'll even do a bike ride leading into it, where we ride on those bike lanes and really get a firsthand experience of the conditions. But you'll see in that presentation, it's the bike lanes are painted in a pretty negative picture, in a real negative light. And it's disappointing, in my opinion, personally. But I get it. There's issues. I agree that there's issues full-heartedly, but we kind of nitpick them and dissect them in a way that we don't do for any road or any car infrastructure. And I'm always like, why are we really like looking for issues here when we don't never look at any of the other infrastructure we build, which is way more costly. But that's going to be a good meeting. And hopefully with the support of council, we'll have a budget plan. So it won't even be so critical, hopefully, is the idea. Any questions about that bike pilot update meeting on May 30th? Okay, so moving right along. So on that same topic, and this is probably the more engaging part of this conversation that we're going to have tonight. So please think about ideas and feel free to share them in real time if you have any. But Kathy, going back to your original point about those separated intersections, those protected intersections, and how do we communicate that? That's part of that conversation with those bike pilots, because I think it's kind of, I believe it's connected. So between now and then, I was hoping that us as a group could potentially produce some material, some kind of information that can help educate the public and the council and city staff and leadership. And so whether that's a video, information, graphic information, and then also the value of separated infrastructure in general, like for bikers. You know, what's the value? Why not just remove the barriers? Why is that an issue for a cyclist? And really trying to figure out ways to communicate that in short, to the point ways. One really quick positive thing I like to share with the group that I forgot to mention with the recent capital budget retreat is, I think one of my favorite parts was hearing everyone talking about protected intersections. It seemed like that was the hot word of the day. And I think I heard it some 20, 30 times from city staff and the council and whatnot. And that was just music to my ears, because last year that was not really part of our conversation, our vocabulary. And this year it seems like it's front and center. So that's really, really good news, and great that it's on the consciousness of the city staff and the mayor and council. So well done, everyone. That's a big deal. But anyone have any thoughts as to how to further share the value that we see in protected intersections and separated infrastructure leading into the May 30th meeting? Yeah, Rich.
Adam and everybody, we have better weather. I love the winter anyway. I like the snow, and there's more bicyclists out now. And we got much more. Our presence is greater, so we need more protection.
Yes.
We're not getting it, and so far. So I think the weather has been to our advantage. Even through the winter, I rode most every day. So
right,
we could just use our number factor.
Yeah,
for the council, if that's possible.
Right, that's a great idea.
Okay.
Who else has an idea?
Stefan always does.
He's holding back. He's got secrets and ideas.
I'm trying to get him back on his bicycle, by the way.
Good.
Yeah, my bicycle needs some work. what keeps going through my head is sort of a different topic. But if you got a place at the end for additional agenda items, I'll leave it to there.
Okay, we will definitely. We're almost at the end, so we'll circle back to that for sure. My idea was to create a educational video, kind of like a TikTok video that could be also shared on the different social media platforms. And what that means for those of you who aren't on TikTok, and I'm thinking about you, Rich, especially, is it's like a short video, 1 to 2 minutes long, ideally.
I've seen some. They're pretty good. Yes.
Educational, you know,
Yes, very
showing
good.
both
Very good.
the actual intersection itself, and then also showing the design, and also showing maybe even like a clip of another video clip of a protected intersection, and try to, like, you know, make a educational, empowering video talking about the value of these things. So that's something on my radar that I'm thinking about. I see Teo has joined us. Welcome, Teo. Good evening.
Yeah, I've been following along, Adam.
Oh, good.
Facebook earlier. I joined at about 5:10. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us. So if anyone has any thoughts, you know, let me know. Feel free to reach out. But that's something that's I'm going to be thinking about in this next month window. But we need to definitely, you know, continue to build momentum and communicate with the public, and continue what the momentum we have. I think we've got some great momentum. It seems like the entire community is talking about these topics, whether they like them or not, and that's good. And we have the full support of the mayor and council, which is just incredible. And it seems like leadership and staff are very much supportive as well, although I still see them at times prioritizing car needs, car values, car desires, and in a way that's not safe for bike and ped. You know, corridors are too fast, designing roads are way too fast, that, you know, result in fatalities often. And yeah, Rich.
Oh, on that note, where's the most dangerous? I think you mentioned San Francisco and Butler or 60.
Right.
Where's the most dangerous corridor?
The most dangerous intersections are San Fran.
Just the road, on the road paths. I find that Oak Creek Canyon is horrible.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, yeah. I guess any road that is traveled that doesn't have adequate infrastructure, right?
Not at all.
But I'll tell you, you know, and this is something else I want this group to start thinking about, because I want to circle back to this, is meeting with ADOT, because the two most dangerous intersections in Flagstaff, according to the data, are 66 in San Fran and 66 in Beaver. And surprise, surprise, right? I feel like we all kind of knew that. And it's probably because of the heavy pedestrian use and the cars, right? And so I really think we need to sit down with ADOT, and we need to start asking them to come up with a plan to make their roads and intersections safer. As my camera dies, but that's okay. So I'm gonna keep talking as I'm switching my camera battery. But yeah, any other thoughts or questions? Yeah.
So there are, when we were first planning our bike strike a year ago, there were some more radical things suggested, and we didn't do them, perhaps because they're more radical. I don't know, but things came up like, if we're doing a bike strike, you know, do we go and take over an intersection and lock it down? Or do we go when traffic is just completely clogged, and, you know, either on foot or on bike or whatever, hand out leaflets to stalled cars in the traffic and say, hey, wouldn't you rather be on your bike? It smells better if you're on your bike instead of in this damn line of cars, you know, things like that. So there are more radical protest methods. I don't know if we want to go there, but those were discussed when we did the bike strike. And then, as you all recall, we organized that bike strike, and the evening before the bike strike, a group of riders got run over by a tow truck, and one was killed and they were injured. And so we had a vigil walk instead of the bike strike. So, you know, things are bad. Maybe more radical approach is the right thing to do.
My thought, Stefan, and I fully appreciate where you're coming from, but my thought would be the first steps are to meet with ADOT in a professional setting, and then secondly, possibly show up to their board meetings, the statewide board meetings that are open to the public, and bring public comment and apply pressure that way. And first try to work up the ranks of the power structure of ADOT and those who have the ability, like our district, I think supervisor, I forget his title exactly, but basically working with those that have the ability to. And if they refuse to work with us or just don't see value in what we're advocating for, then we escalate, right? But good things to keep in mind and keep in our back pocket. And I'm not necessarily opposed, but I'd rather see us try a different approach first. Because I think that we could get it. Of course,
I agree.
of course. But let's keep that in mind. We'll circle back to this one. But I just want to plant that seed. And Rich, appreciate the question about the most dangerous corridors. And yeah. Okay, so I think the last thing on my list of updates to give, and then I'd love to open it up to any comments that anyone has that they'd like to share. June 27th, so in a couple months, we have the Butler Fourth Improvements Project. And it's a conversation at the City Council on Butler Fourth Improvements. So I believe that means both the intersection of Butler and Fourth, which staff is currently trying to decide whether they should do a 2-lane roundabout, which was the game plan the whole time. They want to do a 2-lane roundabout, but because why? It moves cars efficiently. It's safer for cars, but you know what? It's not good for kids. It's not good for elderly. It's not good for cyclists. It's not good for pedestrians. It just isn't, because you have to negotiate the stopping of moving vehicles and say, okay, are you stopping? Okay, are you sure? Okay, can I walk now? Okay, there's 2 lanes actually. So you have to make sure 2 lanes are stopped for you in each direction, just to cross over one street without any support of infrastructure of like lights or anything. Anyways, it's not a good design. It's a bad design for bike and ped. But yet the positive is that it moves cars more efficiently. Just like, a difference of 10, 15 seconds often is the difference, which is like really shocking, right? But that is likely going to be part of that conversation on the 27th of June. And we will definitely be organizing leading into that. So sneak peek, that's coming in a couple months. And as well as the Butler widening. So they're going to be adding more lanes to Butler east of 4th Street. And they're also going to be putting bike infrastructure in. But we'll dive into those designs at a later date. I've got concerns. I've got complaints myself. It's better, but it's still not fully there in my opinion. So we'll talk more about that. Any questions about any of those upcoming events? Moon, am I totally just like overwhelming you with all these things?
I'm just assuming I'll get a lot of emails that'll help me keep track.
There will be
of this
emails,
stuff.
but yes, there will definitely be emails leading into these things. And yes, there definitely will be. And we'll be definitely having more conversations as the BCAT, the Bicycle Climate Action Team, to discuss more of these things in detail as they near. But yeah, a lot going on, and it's very government heavy. But you know what? It's tremendous the impact we can make and the change we can make to how our city is designed.
Well, it's go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go, Moon. Go, please.
I was just going to say that's something that I'm really interested in, at least learning more about how to be effective going through the government routes, which I know can really clog down progress or make things go really slow. But I think also highlight ways we can improve stuff and advocate for what we care about. So it's the first time for me, but we'll see. I will stick to the emails, do my best to catch up.
That's great. The big one again is this week, right? If you feel inclined to give public comment tomorrow, whether it's written or verbal, that's going to be a great opportunity to be part of the process and also experience what it feels like to help, move a topic forward of interest. And that's going to all be leading into this week's budget retreat. And I don't expect anyone from the public to show up to the budget retreat. It's all day typically. And, Kathy, I'm not sure if you've ever attended one of these budget retreats, but they're not necessarily fun or public welcoming in the sense of it's just overwhelming. It's a lot of information. But if you want to come give public comment on the budget retreat this Tuesday, that's really a great opportunity. And if not, you can give public comments via email leading into the budget retreat, ideally by Wednesday at the latest. But yes, Moon, an email will be sent out, and ideally sooner than later. So make sure we do. Do we, Stefan? Do we know if we have Moon's contact?
I have not. I've entered a lot of the names that have come in through petitions in Flagstaff, and I do not remember Moon Strange Weather in the list. And there is another topic too that I want to hit when we get to the end of your agenda, Adam. And I'm about to send out that there's an invitation to a weekly NASCA organizational meeting where we're going to talk about that in more detail.
Yes.
If you would like to get that invitation, I would love to have your email to include.
Moon, if you want to put, do you see the private chat on the StreamYard? Why don't you send it to me or put in the private chat your email address, and we will get you all set up. And on that note, Stefan, I'm going to pass the mic to you, and I'm going to let my dog out, so I'm going to step off camera for a second. But go ahead.
If you want to just send me an email, mine is easy. It's Stefan. You can see it spelled at the bottom of the screen. It's stefan.sommer@nau.edu. And I can get you in that way if you send me an email. Another big item that's going through the city council right now, and this is so we're in the bicycle CAT, climate action team, but it's the Clean Health CAT that's been working on this one. And we're very concerned that the city is not implementing some of its own policies that they've put in place.
Amen.
So back in 2017, NASCA and other groups in town helped to push the city to develop a climate action and adaptation plan. In 2018, we got them to pass it. The goal there was to be carbon neutral by 2030. That has also then got put into the statement about a climate emergency. We pushed the city to declare a climate emergency and to pass the carbon mitigation plan in 2020. It also, all of that got into the regional plan also. So the regional plan has statements in there that say the city's goal is to be carbon neutral by 2030. And in there, it specifically says any new developments need to help the city reach that climate neutrality goal. Well, so Northern Arizona Healthcare, as many of you probably know, is pushing for a new hospital on city property, but just on the edge out by Fort Tuthill. There is a huge carbon footprint associated with that development. It's an over $1 billion project. It's tremendous. The city has not so far required that a new hospital plan provide what its carbon footprint will be. Without that information, the city cannot evaluate how it's going to affect the city's ability to reach its goal of carbon neutrality by 2030. So this is going to be on the city council's agenda. Over the last 2 weeks, we have been pushing the Planning and Zoning Commission to vote no on this plan. And we did get them to vote no on both the hospital plan and the planning and zoning changes that would be required by it. So they're sending this to city council. They have sent this to city council with a no vote on both of those things. But we don't know which way city council is going to go on this. And so we really need to flood city council with comments that say you need to hold this plan to help the city reach its carbon neutrality goal by 2030 by, first of all, providing its carbon footprint so that the Division of Sustainability in the city can begin to evaluate what effect it's going to have. And we do not want to say, because right now the lawyers from the Northern Arizona Healthcare are saying you can't pick on us. Just because we're a big development, you can't require us to submit our carbon footprint when you haven't required that of all the other developments. So we want to specifically say in our comments to City Council that the hospital, the NAH, Northern Arizona Healthcare, has to provide what its carbon footprint is so that the city can evaluate how it will affect the city's goal. We can't say you need to require NAH to be carbon neutral by 2030. That we don't want to advocate for that. We want to instead advocate for they give us their carbon footprint so that we can evaluate how it affects the city's ability to reach its own net zero goal by 2030. And so those are the details of the language, because the team of lawyers for NAH is saying you can't pick on us. And so I'm putting that all together into this invitation for the Thursday organizational meeting. So thank you for sending me an email, Moon, and I'll get you in on that invitation, and there'll be more details about how to comment in the most effective ways. And then we are also having the Clean Health Cat is having a team of folks go to make comments tomorrow in preparation for the following Tuesday when it will be on the City Council's agenda, because we don't want to hit that and then it already be too late. We know that the NAH lawyers and lobbyists are already meeting with City Council individually and collectively and putting in all the reasons that they think the hospital plan should go through. And we just want to make sure that it doesn't block the city from reaching its carbon neutrality goal of 2030.
And Stefan, just to piggyback on that, I appreciate all the efforts of this group and other community groups in town that are working on this. This is a big one, right? And I think most people know I recently ended my term on council, and this is a topic I've been working on as well over the years with NAH and with our city team and the public. And we've been asking, at least the former council that I was a part of, we've been asking for climate goals to be set, climate goals to be communicated and put in writing, and not just this blank idea of we'll do what we can. No, we want to know that you're taking it seriously, because it does cost more at times and it's a different approach, and we'll do what we can often results in doing the minimum that's required by code. And so you're right on the money. I fully agree with everything you said. It is a fine line when it comes to legal parameters and what the city is able to require of NAH, as NAH is leaning on that line of thought. But we can definitely put pressure on the council, and we could potentially advocate. I'm not going to pick a side at this moment, but I'll just say that we, as the public or whoever chooses to, can advocate for council to deny the rezone request. I believe it is a rezone request, and because of the lack of the ability to make the findings needed to approve the rezone. It's all about the findings necessary to make the approval of the rezone. And there's 3 findings, and we can dive into those, but one of them is like community health and well-being, and it's pretty broad. And that's kind of the one that council can kind of like lean on and kind of say, this just doesn't fit our community's needs. And it kind of gives them some ability to deny a rezone request without it getting caught up in lawsuits. If they deny the rezone based off of a climate-focused thing that isn't legally fair to do, like they're saying, NH is saying, we might, if that does happen, and just playing out the scenario, we might go to court and lose. But if it's based, you could say, like, as a community member, you could say, here are my concerns, here are my issues, and if there isn't a plan in place, I think that this is not good for the community health well-being, and it's not going to meet the findings necessary for you to approve this, and I would recommend that you deny the approval. But yeah, this is it. This is what it all.
That word "finding" is critical to the whole thing, right? They have to come up with a finding to make their decision, right? But in addition to the carbon problem, there are lots of other issues. So for one thing, it's this plan requires a $54 million improvement to Beulah Boulevard to turn it into a 4-lane fiasco. And it sits right out at Fort Tuthill. So already that traffic is not accommodated by the current roads. And it would require Mountain Line buses to put a whole new route out to Fort Tuthill. And they are not providing the money for the $54 million of road improvement. They're not providing the money to purchase Mountain Line buses, 2 new electric buses, as they should be doing. And they're only funding half of the additional required fire station with a ladder truck because they are going so high with their building. Anyway, so there are lots of things that they're not covering and dumping on the city to pay for.
So, Stephen, remind us again the timing of these meetings.
So it went from the Planning and Zoning Commission to the City Council this last week. It will be on the budget, on the agenda for the City Council on May 2nd.
Okay. We have
And so we want to hit them with comments, both written and in person this week in preparation for it being on their agenda May 2nd.
Okay. Which is next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow.
Which is next Tuesday.
Okay. So it's go time in terms of action. Okay. Very good. Thank you for bringing that up. Stefan, do you have any other comments or updates to share with the group?
Oh, just more celebratory stuff about we signed up hundreds of people for Earth Day. So we've already, like I've been saying again and again, we've already got over 9,000 folks signed on petitions of NASCA's saying that they are citizens concerned about climate change. And so we use those numbers when we approach City Council. The Fleet Electrification Now campaign is really collecting signatures much more rapidly than they were. And so we're over 2,000 signatures for that.
Wow.
So that's to put pressure on the city, NAU, FUSD, the county, and Mountain Line buses to speed up their transition to all electric. So anyway, all these different climate action teams are working on different things. If you want to see what the latest is, come to the Thursday meetings, and the various climate action teams are there. And Adam will be there as well, I'm thinking, because he's going to be advocating for the bicycle component, the bike cat stuff. And the green burial cat, I'm hoping will be there this time as well. So all the different groups are supposed to be coming together on Thursdays. They don't always all get together, but we talk about all the different things they're working on.
That's great. And I see Lauren has joined us. Lauren, if you've been on this call for a while and I just haven't even noticed that you're here, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Most of it I tried to join when I was running errands, but the connection was bad. But good
That's
news,
so
I ran
funny.
my errands by bike. So good.
Welcome. And thanks for joining us. Yeah, so funny. I had to scroll down on the participants and I just saw your bubble and I was like, oh my gosh. That's so funny.
And then, Stefan, do we have a template for that letter made up? Because I think your strategy of not of emphasizing that we need any kind of climate impact from the hospital. It's not that we want to bar them immediately. It's that they need to submit something. I think that's a key point for them not to come back and say, "Hey, we're being bullied." Do we have a draft, or is that what we're talking about on Thursday?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Stefan. I might have muted you. And as you're unmuting, Teo, I didn't mute you because there was feedback coming through. So Teo, if you do want to comment, just unmute yourself.
So sorry. So in answer to your question, Lauren, I usually try to get the invitations for the Thursday meetings out over the weekend. I've been frantically entering all of the new email addresses that we got on Earth Day. But I hope that by the end of today, by midnight at least, I'll have that invitation out. It will have some guidelines on what ideally should go into those comments. on the hospital. And if I have time, I will try to write my own comment as an example. There's pros and cons to that. You know, it sounds better to the council if each of the comments are independent from each other. If they see the same thing over and over again, they say, this is all one person. So,
Definitely.
but anyway,
Bullet
I'll
I
at
think
least have the
people-
guidelines for what are the most important things to say.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Thank you.
Teo, do you want to chime in? Welcome.
Yeah, I've been putting things into the chat, but I think
Hmm.
maybe the only person who's seeing them is Lauren. I'm not really sure if I'm doing it correctly. I'm not sharing with everybody.
I'm the same
But,
way. Same way.
Yeah, anyway, so my daughter is studying at NAU right now in the master's program there, and she's spending so much time doing greenhouse gas emission accounting. I mean, she's getting a certificate. She's like every weekend, she's like, I can't come and have dinner with you because I'm doing my homework, right? And I'm thinking like, it's a big topic. Obviously, it's been a big topic for a while. And for a development like this to be occurring within our city, and I remember when actually the current FMC was being proposed like 40 years ago, and that was kind of a big
Wow.
development in the middle of the city. That used to be the Forest Service ware yard up there where the hospital is now. And for a developer in this day and age, and Northern Arizona Health to say, well, you know, that's a lot to ask that we should have to like reveal and estimate our greenhouse gas emission on this development. It's just, it's bogus, because I mean, there's an entire science and an entire generation of people devoting themselves to doing this work. And I guess if they don't know how to do it, they could hire my daughter in a year and get her to do it. But I mean, people need to be transparent about what they're doing in their development. And for them to say, oh, you're picking on us, poor us, we don't know how to do this. I mean, it's a joke. It's like such a huge development. Stefan has laid it out. And for them to say, well, this is too much to ask for us to have to reveal these details. I mean, it's just, but I think most of the community, unfortunately, whether they oppose it or support it, it's like, well, it's health, it's improving our healthcare services and stuff. So, you know, why subject these people to such a high standard? But it's they should be setting the standard for Northern Arizona, not like fending us off and saying, well, we can't do that. It's unfair. You're picking on us. I mean, I find it a bit appalling. Sorry.
And
but,
it all comes down to the code, you know, it all comes down to the lawyer talk. But I fully agree with you, Teo, you know, but it's funny how it always comes down to that.
Well, and I feel like most of the community members just think it's a new hospital. So everybody I've talked to wasn't aware that it's 2 hotels and a retail center and a neighborhood, and it's not, you know, I'm for the hospital, and you know, with a plan. But yeah, it's interesting
it's like
how
the biggest development project in our history, I think, probably since the railroad came through.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening to my comments here.
Thanks for chiming in. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Stefan. Do you have anything else to add?
No, if you're not out on my list of the invitations for Thursday nights, send me an email and I'll get you on the list. And again, it's stefan.sommer, just like it's spelled out here at the bottom of my screen. stefan.sommer@nau.edu.
That's great.
If you already get them, then all's good.
So we're about to wrap up our meeting. We did take up the whole hour and a half, and we're even going to go over a little bit. So look at that. Great job, everyone. I guess we definitely had a lot to talk about. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join us and be part of this conversation. Let's go around the circle really quick and just state any closing comments, what your thoughts are after being part of this conversation. We covered a lot of ground, but really, how are you feeling as we close off? I'm going to start at the back corner and work my way back up to me. So, Rich, you are the one I'm looking at first.
Oh, I'm just very happy to be here. You your group is exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And Stefan, thank you very much for putting me in touch with this young man. So we'll take it from there. All I know is I'm just happy to be part of something active like this, especially anything to do with bicycles. Thank you.
And that's perfect. I mean, that's what we're all about. And Richard, I'm going to thank you for taking the time to be with us consistently and engage with the council. It's helpful and appreciated. And I will be following up with an email to you about the Bike Month happenings, that email link.
Parfait. Merci. Thank you. Thank you.
Durian, you're welcome. Thank you. All right, Teo.
Well, this is my second meeting with you folks, and I really appreciate that it's happening. It gives me something to look forward to. My proposed bike-related activity for May is I'm planning on circumnavigating Slovenia. So my commitment is to, I'm leaving on the 10th, and I'll be gone until June, but I'm planning on coming back with some information about how the Slovenians are dealing with automobiles and bicycles and pedestrians, because I've heard great things about Slovenia, and I want to go see the beautiful country, and I want to experience it on my bike. And so I promise I'll come back in June or July with some sort of a report on that. But I do want to say that one of my big issues, and I think Lauren has been kind of picking up on my comments, there's this trend of increasing risk hazards on our roads for everybody, automobiles, bicyclists, pedestrians. At the same time, we're needing to get more people to consider not driving everywhere all the time. And it's like a nexus, and I'm not quite sure how this is going to come together, because at the time we need to get people to do something more, there's every reason for them to say, I'm not going to do that. It's crazy. It's too dangerous. And so it's not safe everywhere in the world, but in the US, it seems like we're developing a bit of a reputation for like escalating road fatalities of all sorts. And I don't know what the answer is, but it's scary out there. And I've been riding here for 40 years, and I don't feel safer today than I did when I knew it was unsafe in 1981 when I moved here, when there were logging trucks and no bike lanes and crazy shoulders with cinders. The hazards seem to be changing. I mean, it's bigger vehicles, even electric motorized vehicles seem to be presenting more of a hazard to me, even on the foots, on the paved segments of the foots. So I don't have a solution, but I'm just reporting as the guy on the street on my bike. It's like, I don't feel safer today than I did 40 years ago. And it's a different sense of, I'm older, but it's a different sense of risk and hazard also.
And Teo, I appreciate you sharing that, of course. And I'm just going to keep encouraging people to email council with photos specifically of scenarios that they're riding across. I found when I was on council, the most effective public members were those who regularly communicated with council, literally once a week, once every 2 weeks, sending photos, conversation points, not a whole essay, not like, a whole page, but like one paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs max, links to additional information, and continued communicating with the mayor and council and leadership, and sharing, hey, bringing light to a part of the reality in Flagstaff that maybe we don't want to look at. So please continue to do that. And Teo, really quick, I'll pass it over back to you in a second. I'll just say, as you're on your trip, obviously have a great time and be safe, but please continue to email the council with those updates too. Take photos and share that and say, hey, check this out. This is amazing. This feels better than any part of Flagstaff, at times, right? Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that one of my big gripes over time is that I've always tried to make eye contact with my motorist friends inside their vehicles. And it used to be that from every direction, front, back, sideways, I could see that somebody was in the car, and they could presumably see me. And with all the mirrored, the tinted glass now in the new vehicles, I almost feel like I'm just riding around the city with a bunch of robots, because I can't physically, in many cases, make eye contact with the people presumably that are at the wheel, or even tell what they're looking at me or whatever. So, I mean, that's like a much bigger topic. You know, that's automobile design, an industry that I grew up with in Detroit. But when you can't even see the people from the side that are driving the vehicles, I just have to assume at every turn that they can't see me at all. So
And
I don't know how to resolve that. That's
put
one of the things.
Just to kind of like comment to that really quick, you know, protected intersections and separated infrastructure. You don't even need to look at the car. It doesn't even matter where the cars are or how many there are. You are on your own separated system that has your best interest in mind and your safety as a priority. But yes, fully agree with you, Teo, of course. Yeah, Rich.
Just a quick comment. Lately, I've been wearing my sheriff's jacket. I used to be a sheriff here. And trust me, they will move way off to the left when they're passing me.
Do you have extras? Do you have other sheriff's jackets?
You have to be a sheriff to do that, but I have that. And if I'm stopped, I have the credentials for it. But trust me, that sheriff thing, if you get that notice in your back, they move automatically way over to the left. And you don't have eye contact with them.
So that's maybe a nice intermediate between the, you know, the radical approach that I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
You know, if we all get sheriff's jackets, and there are hundreds of sheriff's jackets all over town, that might kind of catch people's attention.
Let me see if I can do something like sheriff's volunteer jackets. Would that be
There
okay?
you go. I don't know.
That would be great.
Let me look into that for you because it's
look
also
into
like
it
for me.
Well, I'll jump in on this one. I have a list of ideas. Maybe Adam, I was going to connect with you and see if they were when a good time would be for, I don't know, another BCAT or whatever. But one of them is previous bike groups have done ride-alongs with police officers. So our biking officers, and I'd like to learn if any of them are part of the International Police Biking Association.
I can look into that for you. I can look into that for you.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. But that would be, I mean,
thank you. That's a good idea. Excellent.
Like on a normal commuting morning, right? When everybody's mixing and then we ride with officers or a couple of folks ride with officers. And it's really that visibility of, yes, this is how we're supposed to ride. And we are valid transportation type of thing. But
let me take that up as a priority for you guys. Okay. At least I can do that much.
That'd be great.
I'll do that for you.
And
Lauren, the Fly PD, I like those guys very much, and the sheriff. I'll do both. Okay.
What's happened to our bicycle patrol officers? I used to know Dave, and there were people in the police force that I talked to all the time on the street and saw them riding bicycles, and
they're gone. They're gone now. They somehow cut off that program.
And they retired. I think Dave retired.
Oh, okay. I know David. Yeah. He's
but
smart.
There was, yeah. I mean, this is a whole. We could go till 8 o'clock, right?
I never felt safer than when I was riding around with Officer Dave, and it was like, okay, people are probably not going to run over a police officer on a bike, so I'll ride next to him.
He was a character too, you know.
So let's circle back to this one at our next meeting. I love this conversation. And Richard, maybe you can do some homework and research and talk to some people. And Lauren, what I would encourage you to do is send an email to council, surprise, surprise, and say, hey, Mayor and Council, I have a question. Do we have officers on bicycles still? And likely what you'll get is an email back from our police chief, Dan Musselman, CCing the Mayor and Council and other key staff members responding to your question. And then at the next meeting, you can report back to this group what your findings are. And then that way you also include the Mayor and Council in this discussion, which is really, really great.
I'll take care of that though for you. Starting tomorrow, promise.
Awesome.
Good idea, Lauren. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you.
Okay, we've gone through 3 members. We have 4 left to go, and we'll wrap up here. So Moon, would you like to share any closing reflections or thoughts?
Nothing on the top of my head, but I do want to think a little bit more about the involvement of police. And I think it may be an unpopular opinion here, but I don't know if everybody would feel safe working so closely with police, and I think that might create a divide in how many people could feel involved in this particular group. So that is just something I'm bringing up now and something I just want to look into more. And in future meetings might be something that I bring up as we try to be aware of how we want to represent everybody, but then also everybody who's here. So yeah, I know that might be difficult, might have some difficult conversations in the future, but I hope we can all approach it like thoughtfully. And that's pretty much it. Thank you all again for having me here, and I hope to like keep making it to future meetings and keep being involved.
Thank you, Moon. Lauren, did you have something to add?
I think I'm gonna maybe answer my own question, but the last time I looked into the police efforts with biking, they didn't have anybody. They had one guy after Dave left, and I'm not sure that he's still around. But I try to keep up on who to contact if I get in a collision, and at the moment I don't have a contact. So yeah, I'm in with definitely maybe it's a highlighting our a opportunity for improvement within our police efforts.
Thank you for that, Lauren. And Teo, just so you know, I muted you again just because there is feedback coming in from your feed. But you can stay muted unless there's something you'd like to add. But Moon, thank you for that update and your comments. Fully agree with you, and we can talk about that more later. But I appreciate you bringing that forward in that perspective. And thank you for joining us today, Moon. Kathy, closing words of wisdom and anything you'd like to share.
It's just nice to know that you were a former council person, and so there's no such thing as emailing city council too much, like becoming a pen pal.
No. Okay. I think it's great, and I know that most everyone on council reads every email they get, and they work for us, the public, and so they need to hear from us, and they do hear from people all the time, and special lobbying groups, and so we have as much of their time as they do, and we need to use our rights and our abilities and our opportunities to use that connection and relationship to ask them to represent us, especially when there's work to be done. So yes, Kathy, email away. You have my permission.
Okay, thanks.
And thank you for joining us, Kathy. Appreciate your input and engagement. Stefan, and you're muted, I'm sorry. Still muted. Let me unmute you. Okay, I think, oh, I can't unmute you.
I can read his lip.
Okay, sorry. All I want to say is thank you all for being here. Y'all are wonderful. Thank you for your interest in building a better world. Let's do it together.
Yeah, I love that. Great meeting, everybody. We covered a lot of ground. Thank you for hanging in there and getting through all that with me. Emails will be coming out soon about the budget retreat this week, and looking forward to giving you all an update on that budget retreat in the coming meeting that we have. We don't have our next meeting set yet, but we will send out a update as to the time and whatnot, but it'll be probably the same format for now. But thank you all again. Get involved with the bike month events starting May 1st, and looking forward to a wonderful bike month and in spring with you all. Have a great evening, and again, thank you for taking the time to be part of this conversation today. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.